what's up, y'all? It's D. About to react to this video about What Culture Wrestling. This is ups and downs from WWE Stomping Grounds. Yes, I get to see what happened, although I've had many DMs of y'all spoiling it and telling me what happened. So I already know about Ricochet because, you know, thanks. But yeah, he's about to go into detail about what happened. So yeah, I'm excited to hop into it. Let's go.
Let's talk about life just really quickly. When you have zero expectations and then something exceeds those expectations, you feel better than if it was the other way around. So if I tell you, hey, come round my house, and you think I'm going to punch you in the face, but instead I give you a loving hug, that hug is going to feel like the best thing ever. Now that is not me saying the Stomping Grounds was the best WWE pay-per-view ever, but it was far better than I was expecting. Even though there are some questionable elements that we need to get through, but that's why I exist, and that's why Ups and Down exists too. We're now going to go through the latest WWE pay-per-view, and we're going to give the good bits an up, and we're going to give the bad bits a down. If you are wondering, yes, I just said my mother gave birth to me so I could review pro wrestling shows. Thank you, Mother. Let's up those downs.
Okay. Yeah, he definitely got buffered since the last time I saw him. Okay, you know what.
The pre-show featured the Cruiserweights going at it for the 205 Live Championship, but let's face it, WWE always does that, so it's not a big surprise. But who gives two hoots? This match absolutely kicked-assed and justified if you did tune in to watch the little shindig before everything kicked off proper. Give it an up. It saw Drew Gulak win the Cruiserweight title after he pinned Tozawa after his torture rat neck breaker thing. And not only did this just get better and better and better and better as it went, but it also involved all the crowd, which is doubly impressive because I'm sure you've seen on social media, this was not the most well-attended WWE pay-per-view we've seen in recent years. But thank you, Tacoma, Washington. I think that's where it is. I always get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's correct, for making a noise. You made it a lot of fun. Which leads us to Stomping Ground proper, and we did kick things off with Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion, defending her belt against Lacey Evans. And before we get to that, at one point during this, Renee Young said that Becky Lynch thinks Lacey Evans is out of her depth in a puddle. Is that what Becky Lynch thinks? Renee Young, did she say that to you? Maybe backstage, because if she did, as ever, you should be on the phone to someone because nobody talks like that. I have a segment for that, you know, and I'm not going to use it here because I want to keep it for Raw and SmackDown. We're only doing one a week. It's like a golden up and a brown down. You get one a week, and all of this just got even more weird, be it Michael Cole going crazy at the end of the Seth Rollins-Baron Corbin match, going, Seth wins, all the point when Byron Saxton, I like Byron Saxton a lot. I think Byron Saxton has been, well, got a lot of unfair and undue criticism. And at one point, he said something like, we have to now start pondering what the future for this competitor is, given the issues that they've currently faced. What? That's like robot talk. Anyway, the point of all of this is it's getting it down. Focusing back on the match itself, though, it was perfectly fine. I know that's not going to be enough for some people. They're going to get their pitchforks out and say, stab, kill, kill. But it was. Lacey Evans is basically learning on the job. This we know. And while you may think that she doesn't deserve to be in this spot, she is. And it was a perfectly acceptable match that Becky Lynch won after she locked Lacey Evans in the disarmer. Lacey Evans tapped out, well, instantly. It was like she was trying to turn a light switch on and off really fast. It can have an up. Also, yeah, I know that we can hear Becky Lynch calling the spots, but that sometimes happens in wrestling matches. I'm not going to get too bogged down in stuff like that. And besides, one of those spots was Becky Lynch taking her fingers and ramming it down Lacey Evans' throat or in the teeth, whatever that nerve was supposed to be. She gave her a mandible claw, and I can't remember the last time I saw a mandible claw when Mick Foley wasn't on TV. It entertained me. Entertained. I'm a simple man. We then started teasing all the special guest referee stuff because Paul Heyman came out of Baron Corbin's office, and as he was being interviewed, he said, don't even worry about that. What you should be worried about is that not only is Seth Rollins the Universal Champion here, but so is Kofi Kingston the WWE Champion, and maybe Brock Lesnar is as well. Of course, Brock Lesnar wasn't there. That storyline just does not work at all. Anyway, that was done, and Baron came out and said he's chosen his special guest referee, and he'll find out later, and then they'll win the Universal title, and then they'll go on to fight Brock Lesnar. Yeah, right. Also, yeah, we will talk about that special guest referee later on. We moved on to the New Day versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn next, and this is where the pay-per-view started to peak and grab my interest. Give it an up. The main reason for that was because KO and Sami won. If you have been watching Ups and Downs, you already know that Zayn didn't get the pinfall here because WWE will never allow him to do that. But after a stunner on Xavier Woods, Kevin Owens did, and they won. And the reason this got me excited because in many ways it goes against WWE protocol. I mean, in the past, if we were doing our usual tick boxes, the New Day, Big E, and Xavier Woods would have absolutely got the victory here. So something deep down inside of me is hoping that everything in my being come Raw that's happening in a few hours, WWE may actually start to shake things up, or at least do things a little bit differently. I know that makes me a fool, I know that makes me an idiot, but I gotta have some hope, otherwise you know what happens to my face? I take it and I get a cheese grater and I just slice it off, and then what if that falls on someone's pasta? They'll be like, oh, Simon, delicious cheese, and I'm gonna be like, it's my face. And then they're not going to want to come around for dinner anymore, are they? What are we talking about?
So
also,
he's
WWE must have learned something, because again, this was like a half-full, three-quarters full building for a pay-per-view, but they didn't sell that many tickets. That's mostly because it was basically Super Showdown 1.5, but at least here, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn got the win. Now let's use this momentum to do something good with those guys. The start was really cool as well because KO and Sami just went on the offensive. I mean, we saw a frog splash and we saw a blue thunder bomb for a while. Xavier Woods was just getting his ass kicked, and if you can believe it, when you see a couple of guys do that, you watch them and go, huh, they're really badass. I feel myself enjoying the performance and the entertainment they're putting out there. This is what this is. This is like blood coming out of my chest. Now that I've said all this, of course, the New Day will just get their win back on Raw or SmackDown, and we have to go back to me sitting there in my seat, feeling very sorry for myself, because once again, I've been duped. At least for the next, what, like 12 hours? I could be feeling
Because they're the good guys? Is that why WWE is making them win?
Asshole. Great. Ricochet then defeated Samoa Joe to become the United States champion.
That's what people told me.
It always hurts me on some level because, as you know, I'm in love with Samoa Joe, but this match kicked all the ass, and it kind of tied in to what I was just talking about.
Dang, he beat Samoa Joe. I want to see.
Just a little bit differently. Give it up. The idea was that Ricochet would flip all around the place, but because Samoa Joe is such a badass, he would keep clubbing him down. At one point, Samoa Joe got out of the way of a 630, and then he clotheslined the hell out of Ricochet, but because he's such a high flyer, he landed on his feet. Samoa Joe with a code broker went back to the top rope, hit that 630, and yeah, he got the 1, he got the 2, he got the 3. Samoa Joe loses his belt, and Ricochet wins his first major title on the main
that's his
roster.
first one.
If WWE does do this right, it will become one of the most exciting things of 2019 so far. There is potential and there is power in Ricochet's veins, but he's got to be booked appropriately. This is when I start to worry again. Once more, we'll find out of Raw. But if you take all of that, I tell you, Stomping Grounds, which we all thought was going to be absolute garbage, well, it was off to quite the start. I was really enjoying it by this stage. A kid riding a train in the theme park. I was like, woohoo! We also saw Ricochet in the backstage area. He was being congratulated by like Seth Rollins and Heavy Machinery and Zack Ryder. For some reason, Charlotte Flair was there. Why she wanted to celebrate with Ricochet, I don't know. But also, the man himself, Triple H, gave him a hug and was like, well done, pal. And that's good, because it's like association. Now, if you didn't know there was a relationship between Triple H and Ricochet, maybe you start to see Ricochet in a better light.
Yeah.
Keep those fingers crossed. Here was the SmackDown Tag Team titles on the line after this. And thank the world for Daniel Bryan. He is so damn good. Give it up. Once more, the crowd with the stars here as they cheered Daniel Bryan, the hometown hero, like they were never going to see him again. And it got so crazy, they even booed Otis. Imagine booing Otis. He's like your crazy uncle that comes around at Christmas. But again, Daniel Bryan was so beloved that fans didn't care, and it just made this match.
They love Daniel Bryan, that's why.
We even got a driver Prius chant at one point, which just, I tell you, at that point I was just doing a little dance and having a little fun in my living room because it was just so entertaining. Although unfortunately, the finish was a little bit meh. Tucker had flown out of his corner with fire and he was climbing up the ropes, he was jumping onto Eric Rowan, and he was all ready to go. And then when he got in the ring like some kind of chump, he got rolled up by Daniel Bryan, and indeed Heavy Machinery lost. Daniel Bryan and Recyclable Rowan were able to retain their SmackDown Championships. Now, I liked that. The fans liked it. They were overjoyed to see Daniel walk away with his hand raised. I'm just so bored of roll-up finishes in WWE. It's just like Daniel Bryan could have done the running knee. Tucker was coming into the ring. He could have been in the corner, slap bang. At least that would have been a bit stronger. So really, when we take all that in, given everything else we've seen over the last few weeks, months, years, give it a down. Bayley was next, and she Bayley to bellied Alexa Bliss. Also walk away with her SmackDown Women's Championship. And I've seen a lot of people saying they didn't like this. I thought it was all right. Maybe I'm a fool, but I got the finger of power. It gets enough. Now, it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen. I would have to have Repo Man in for that to be the case, but I thought that Alexa Bliss's slow, methodical heel work as she worked over Bayley's arm and at one point threw her into the corner and then just slapped her in the face was far better than most people give her credit for. And yeah, of course, eventually Nikki Cross got involved. Bayley was going to go for a dive, and that dastardly Alexa Bliss pushed Nikki Cross into the way. So why Cross can't figure this out, I don't know. And then sure, it kind of fell apart then because Alexa Bliss was about to go for the Twisted Bliss, but Nikki Cross was in the ring going, oh, how'd you do that to me? And then she was being thrown out the ring, but somehow Alexa Bliss still went for her finishing move, but Bayley got the knees up, and then she hit her finisher. But look, Bayley's being booked pretty well. She wins matches. I thought the pacing of this was actually quite entertaining. Well, I could just remove the Nikki Cross stuff, because like I say, it makes Nikki Cross look like a doofus. It was all right. What were you expecting? The Leaning Tower of Pisa? Nuts. Also, let's not forget that a couple of years ago, these two had an absolute horror show, and this was far better than that. It was passable, it's okay. I had a good time watching it. We've got a recap of everything that had happened with the 24/7 title recently, and if you haven't seen that, just go on to WWE's YouTube channel and watch it. Obviously, Drake Maverick won the title on SmackDown or Raw, whatever it was. He went to his wedding. R-Truth got involved in that wedding. He rolled up Drake Maverick. He took his title back, and now Drake Maverick's new wife wants a divorce. Why anybody wants to go after that championship, I don't know. It's just hell on earth. But again, it's pretty well done. We also got a very interesting segment where Ricochet was backstage taking some promo pictures with his new title. And Gallows and Anderson came up goofing around. But then AJ Styles joined them. They all threw up the two sweets as if to say, look, we are back together. We are a team. And then more interestingly than that, Styles said, I'll see you tomorrow. Now that makes me excited for many reasons. One, if we get AJ Styles versus Ricochet, I am going to be a happy chappy. But two, I kind of felt like Styles was teasing going heel here. And as I said on my predictions, not true at all, I didn't say on predictions, I said it on my social media. As I said on my social media, I am ready for an AJ Styles heel turn where he reteams with Gallows and Anderson.
I can't picture him being a heel.
I do want to point out, this is WWE, and AJ Styles did say, the exact quote was, I'll see you tomorrow. So there's every chance Vince McMahon is going to book a segment where AJ Styles just looks at Ricochet for like 5 minutes like that.
And walks up.
Stares, and you're like, well, he did see him, that's what he's doing, but you know, positivity, lads. It was our big dog Roman Reigns entering into the squared circle to take on the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre, who was also accompanied by the best in the world, Shane McMahon. And the reason I said it like all of that is so that you can understand how this match was impossible to enjoy, despite the fact Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre are great. Because when WWE adds all these little bits of branding and a little bit of marketing, it just completely takes you out of the experience, and also, you know, Shane McMahon down. And again, the problem here wasn't with the performances, it's when you take in the context around it, and that dragged this down and threw it into the mud. And look, Drew and Roman proved how good they were. Within about 3 minutes, Roman Reigns did that crazy dive over the top rope, but then Shane McMahon was getting involved, and it just completely knocked it off the rails. And yeah, at one point McMahon hit the coast to coast on Roman, and that didn't even faze him, to the point he was able to get back up, hit one last spear on Drew McIntyre, and get the 1, 2, 3. But you know what the issue is there? Now, in the world of professional wrestling, or in the world of WWE, Shane McMahon was able to beat Roman Reigns, but Drew McIntyre was not. So am I meant to think that Shane McMahon is better than Drew McIntyre?
Yeah,
also, at this point, Drew McIntyre is just becoming Bray Wyatt. He talks a good game, and he does sound like a mad person, but as soon as he's in the ring, he loses.
Why
See,
do they have
story
that?
does matter. I got a kick out of the match, but Constantine was going, well, what does this mean? And how does that tie into that? And that doesn't make any sense compared to what happened 2 weeks ago. And that's not the end of this either. Mere minutes after they did lose, Drew McIntyre was livid backstage, so Shane McMahon made Drew and Shane in a handicap match against Roman Reigns on Raw, despite the fact that Roman Reigns is a SmackDown superstar. I'm just done with it. Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler in a steel cage for the WWE Championship, however, was okay. It's not a little bit long and a little bit boring. but it can still get it up. It just wasn't the most exciting cage match in the world, and I think the real problem that WWE ran into is that nobody in their right mind believed that Dolph Ziggler was going to be able to win. And when you do that, it's harder to buy in because you already think you know the result. And there was one crazy near fall after the zigzag. I was like, oh, maybe. But even then, I couldn't buy in 100%. And when you can't buy in 100%, you may as well go home and do the dishes. So yeah, Kingston held on to his belt, but we do have to give a quick applause for the finish because I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. Dolph Ziggler was slowly climbing towards the cage door and he's been like, oh, maybe he's gonna win, but obviously no one actually thought it for the reasons we just talked about. And then Kofi, being the madman that he is, just dove over Dolph Ziggler through the middle rope and landed on the floor before Dolph could even think about it. And just go watch that in slow motion. That would have hurt Kofi Kingston's body. Where Kofi goes next, I don't know, but if we do a third match between these two, I'm going to get a hammer and I'm going to hit my nose so hard it falls on the floor, because then I can worry about my nose instead. It's done, it's over, it's finished, and I don't need to see it no more. Which brings us to our main event, which was Baron Corbin challenging Seth Rollins for his Universal Championship.
Oh yeah.
The question on everybody's lips was, where is Repo Man? WWE did not answer that. They did let us know who Baron Corbin's special guest referee was going to be. Let's get into it. It was Lacey Evans, and straight away I can feel you face palming. If you didn't know that, I can feel your hand slowly smashing into your head. But here's the thing, I have done a lot of thinking about this, a lot of thinking. When I first did her music, you know, bam, bam, ba-dam, ba-dam, bam, I was like, Lacey Evans, are you kidding me? But then I was like, you know what? Maybe that's not as bad as I first thought. For starters, it's unpredictable. Nobody called Lacey Evans. We do get on WWE's case for being really boring. Like, imagine it had been Bobby Lashley. If it had been Bobby Lashley, everybody would have imploded right now because they would have been so upset. But also, from Baron's point of view, it actually makes loads of sense, and he comes across like a smart heel because Seth Rollins had already stolen the microphone from Baron and said, look, whoever's going to come down that aisle, I'm going to beat them up with this chair. But then it was Lacey. He couldn't do anything. Baron Corbin knew that, but Baron Corbin also knew that Seth Rollins is in a relationship with Becky Lynch, and WWE has been talking about that on WWE TV, even though I thought they did a bad job. Still, it had been referenced, so there's your two ticks. One, Seth ain't gonna beat her up with a chair, and two, it may get in Seth's head, because he knows that his girlfriend or his partner or whatever challenged her to a match earlier, and there's a bit of fracas there. Yeah. It does add up. And it is different. Of course, Lacey got involved. This was every single bad guy special guest referee match you've ever seen. So Lacey was counting slow, and then she was counting fast, and then her arm hurt. Then at one point, Baron Corbin was going to get counted out. She said, oh, no count outs. Then he was going to get DQ'd. It was like, oh, no DQ. I don't really like that because it is so lazy. It's like when something happens on WWE TV and no one has an answer. So a wrestler pops up and go, it must have been Shane McMahon. At least come up with something that has some weight. So that part of it, to get it down. But the ending to all of this was ridiculous in the best possible way, and I can't remember the last time I saw a WWE pay-per-view that ended with a satisfying and nice ending. So for that, it can get it up. Lynch ran down to attack Lacey Evans, who had just smashed Seth Rollins right in the balls, and I guess, you know, that would be a worry for Becky Lynch, depending on what the future of their relationship is. And from there, it was the end for big boy Baron. John Cone was now the referee, and that's the guy that started all this because Corbin hates him from Super Showdown. Seth Rollins hit him with a curb stop. 1, 2, 3. Rollins retains, and at the end, yeah, we had Becky Lynch, and we had Seth Rollins hugging and kissing and just being a lovely pair of people. What we do have to point out is that long term, this may be the worst thing ever. Because if you do continue logical booking, that means either on a Raw or a SmackDown or even at Extreme Rules, and we cannot do that, we are going to get Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. And I don't know anybody who has ever asked for that. They're out there, they don't exist, or they do exist, they're just saying it now for the sake of saying it. That was it, that was the end of Stomping Grounds. Again, far better than it had any right to be given the build-up and the fact that Super Showdown was only 2 weeks ago, and that's one of the worst pay-per-views we've ever seen. So on the overall ups and downs counter, it's got to get an up despite some crazy decisions. And again, if we do get a Lacey Evans Baron Corbin tag team, I don't know if I'll ever get over it. Yeah, don't forget to leave a comment below and say, Miller, you're a bald idiot, what are you talking about?
Dang, I wonder why doesn't WWE listen to their audience? I'm sure they're complaining a lot in the comments. I'm sure they're receiving like a lot of people unhappy with the way things are going. So I wonder why they don't take heed to that and try to change things and shake things up. Especially you have him. He's a fucking diehard WWE wrestling fan. And he's even being honest and like, man, this shit's stupid. Man, why would you do this? Why is this going on? But yeah, it seemed like it was a cool show. I mean, how he explained it seemed cool to me. But, you know, I don't know shit. I don't know shit about wrestling like that. But yeah, it seems like it was cool. Seems like Stomping Grounds was cool. If you saw it, let me know what you thought about it. He gave it an up overall. He said it was better than he expected. So let me know if you felt the same way. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about the video. Let me know what else you guys want me to react to. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!